Is your practice tired of wrestling with insurance denials, deciphering EOBs, and watching your revenue slip through the cracks? You are not alone. Welcome to The Claim Game, the podcast designed to cut through the confusion and provide you with the best practices for revenue cycle management success. We are Jeremy and Catherine Zug, and we've been with people just like you in the trenches. Each week, we'll break down complex billing processes, share real-world solutions from practices like yours, and ask questions of the game makers and changers of healthcare so you can take control of your revenue. Let's turn those claim denials into deposits and help you return to focusing on patient care. It's time to win the claim game.
Hey everyone, welcome back to The Claim Game. We are your hosts, Jeremy and Catherine Zug. As a reminder, this season of The Claim Game, we're going through the revenue cycle management best practices, one board territory at a time. And last time around the table, we interviewed my friend Joe Murphy at Checkpoint EHR about how they designed their patient portal to meet patient registration needs. We'll be picking up our magnifying glass to provide specific strategies within these domains, revealing the winning strategies and actions to navigate the board with ease and confidence, ultimately claiming victory for your practice's bottom line. Quick reminder, if you missed the initial setup and want to understand the full scope of the board of revenue cycle management and how the 6 domains of billing work together, be sure to check out episode 1 for the complete overview. Yeah. Okay, let's turn our attention now and focus on our current territory, patient registration. Today, we're zooming in on provider assignment and scheduling. So let's get ready to analyze its unique challenges and discover the ultimate optimal moves to conquer it. Last time we sat here to discuss best practices, we began our journey into patient registration by talking about the intake process and how a good first impression sets the tone for the entire patient relationship. And it really does. Today, we're moving on to the next critical step, provider assignment and scheduling. And this is one that it's really hard to nail. So I hope to give you some clarity here. Catherine, we've talked about how a successful intake process arms us with all the necessary patient information.
You get more arms.
You get more arms, folks.
And maybe I think that has to be armor.
With all the necessary patient information. Now, the next logical step is to get that patient on the calendar with a provider. What's involved in this stage, and why is it so important for both the patient and the practice?
Yeah, I mean, you're essentially asking why is provider assignment and scheduling important. So let me offer a few reasons.
I mean, I know, but let's talk about it.
Yeah, and provider assignment and scheduling is an odd thing to carve out of the intake process because it is something that happens on that intake call. Yeah. So why are we doing it separately? Well,
it's a good question.
This is a huge influencer for reputation. It helps you determine that you have an eligibility match. So am I pairing up a patient to a provider that has the right credentials for their insurance policy, which in turn will mean smoother billing? There is the ever obvious match of availability. I can't schedule somebody that doesn't have availability. And then one of my favorite reasons that we talk about this is that you will have a happier office because you will better utilize your internal staff.
Happy office, happy life. That doesn't rhyme. Let's talk about the assignment process itself. What are the key elements that a practice needs to consider when matching a patient with a...
Yeah, so this is supposed to happen during the intake call. So you should have procedures in place to do this quickly and well in a repeatable process. It takes having patient information. There's patient information that you need to collect. What patient information, you might ask?
Oh, what patient information, Catherine?
Oh, let me tell you, Jeremy.
Oh, great. Thank you so much.
First, collect insurance information, and then you need to collect the presenting problem for the patient, which I would assume is a normal part of your intake process. Collect patient preferences for care. So when I say preferences, here are some of the things that are the highest priority. Language.
Language is important.
Language. Can they communicate? And availability. Those are the two that I would say are yes, they're patient preference, but they're like
critical.
They're like
critical.
Have to key won't fit in hole kind of.
I like that. Key won't fit in hole. That's nice.
Yep. But beyond that is more like the true sense of the word preference. So there will be more, but you'll want to learn more preferences from your patients, and then you're also going to want to kind of gauge how strong those preferences are.
Sure.
And then you also need to have provider information, which you should have ahead of the intake call. And that would be their credentialing breakdown. How are they credentialed, with what plans, etc. What languages do they speak? Is there a quick way for me to determine this provider's availability? Does the provider have preferences for the type of patient that they're going to see? And then it's really just all about finding the best match. It might not be an exact match.
Matchmaker, make me a match. So that makes sense. It sounds like there's a lot of moving parts. So what's the biggest pitfall practices face during this assignment stage?
There are a lot of places that are essential where a mismatch can be made.
For sure.
So I would say the two most common blunders of provider assignment would be not having an insurance match, so an eligibility mismatch, which happens when, I would say usually it happens when it looks like the provider is in network with the policy, but the patient has a specific plan or a carve out or something of that sort that actually makes them not a match. And that's a big blunder because you will not get paid, or you'll have to charge your patient. And then language, just not asking.
What can it lead to if these are mismatched?
Most obviously reputation damage, because you're just going to have an unsatisfied patient.
That's a bummer.
But maybe less obviously frustrated, this could be obvious too, frustrated staff, because that means they're not going to get paid if there's a mismatch. So then another major issue is scheduling a patient with a provider who doesn't have the right specialty to meet their needs, which can also lead to patient dissatisfaction and poor outcomes. So the goal is just to make sure that your provider assignment process is a key part of your RCM strategy. It's not just a clerical task. There is strategy here that can improve or
destroy,
that's the word, your reputation and your internal ethos.
Ethos, what a cool word. All right, once a patient is assigned, we have to get them on the calendar, I would imagine. What are some of the best practices for scheduling appointments, and how do we manage no-shows and cancellations to protect the practice's revenue?
So availability has already been checked, right? We've checked that
it should be
prior. So it should be fairly simple to get a patient on a provider's schedule. I will say that when we talk about availability, sometimes we're talking more generally. So maybe in my intake process, I'm saying, like what days of the week and what time of day. That's not as specific as can you come in on the 2nd at 3 p.m., right? So we're kind of taking it's a funnel. We're taking it from, okay, you want to be seen on Wednesdays in the afternoon, and this provider wants to see patients on Wednesday in the afternoon, right? So that's a match, but their actual availability might vary. So now is the time for you to actually pull up a calendar and say, does Dr. Smith actually have a 3 o'clock appointment available on the 2nd?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. So we're just getting more granular. That's important. However, one really important thing to consider is provider utilization.
What does that mean?
So let's say that I have a provider that has availability. Technically, they're available, but they are seeing 40 patients already.
Ooh, yeah, that's a lot.
And
or like maybe they have a 500 patient caseload or something.
I don't know.
Might.
But they're seeing 40 patients already, and they have previously defined to you, the admin, that they want to max out at 35. So that's a huge consideration when you're thinking about availability. Does the provider have preferences around their utilization? Is there a breaking point where they're going to say, I am being overworked? Now, I also want to just take a quick moment to say, I am not considering a lazy provider in this part of the conversation. If this is a provider that is just saying, I really only want to do 10 a week.
Which happens, by the way.
Now, it's different if they're part-time, but I'm talking about a full-time provider that's like, I will feel Like I don't have self-care if I take on any patients on Thursdays or Fridays.
Or Mondays. Only Tuesdays at 1.
But I want to work full-time.
Full-time
and
pay.
make a full-time pay. When I talk about provider utilization, you guys can determine internally what your internal parameters are for this. All I am suggesting is there probably is a point when a provider is being overutilized, and you could instead either refer some of those patients to another internal person or give new intakes to someone else. You could say their caseload is full. They have availability, but they're not taking new patients.
Could be.
So that's a huge consideration, which will impact your office. But then appointment scheduling guidelines should be a key resource for every practice, which should detail clear procedures for booking new and existing patients.
What?
Yeah. And so within that, you would have a place for provider preferences, patient preferences, what it looks like to schedule an appointment or intake, what it looks like to schedule recurring patients, how to track session limits for benefits, how to handle,
yep,
and how to handle anything like a benefit stage change.
Ooh.
So,
like what happens when they meet their out-of-pocket maximum, like that?
Mm-hmm.
And then they're not supposed to be charged anything, but then you do, and then you owe a refund.
So you should have some kind of checklist guide for how to handle all of those different situations.
Nice. Yeah. What about change to any insurance information? What do we do when a patient wants to reschedule an appointment?
Yeah, so actually this should all exist in your appointment scheduling guidelines. Yeah, what do I do with a patient who has a change to insurance information?
Oh, nice. That makes sense.
Will be included as a section. What to do when a patient wants to reschedule an appointment? What's your protocol? Do you have a window where they're allowed to reschedule, or have we moved into cancellation?
Ooh.
What types of cancellations do you allow?
It's a great question.
You might liberally allow them, that's fine. But having a defined policy for that so that a person who's handling these directly can address them properly. Do we have a no-show policy? So how to do all these things. And then a good scheduling system should include protocols for managing those no-shows and cancellations. So such as sending automated reminders.
So important.
That have the fee policy, the payment policy that they've already signed they will be reminded about that on their appointment reminders. So it's just important to set and communicate these expectations with the patient about these policies during that initial scheduling conversation.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Here's the bottom line. Documentation affects your bottom line. Blueprint, the AI assistant for providers, helps you write faster, better notes that keep insurance happy and money flowing for your practice. Check the show notes for the link to give it a try for free.
Now, do we have a waitlist tool? How does a well-managed waitlist help a practice? What should they be doing to manage a waitlist effectively?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think every practice should have a wait list. Some don't. Some choose not to deal with it, but a wait list is a really powerful tool for converting potential patients and managing patient flow, which directly impacts your practice's revenue and reputation. I mean, I would consider a wait list really, really hot leads as a business.
Yeah.
Like they've already come to you.
They want you.
They already have communicated that they want to work with you.
That's right.
So why would a patient be added to a wait list? Well, there's a couple reasons. You truly may have no open providers.
Yeah, some of you are in places that has a dearth, $10 word for you today, a dearth of providers.
That is a $100 word. I don't know.
$100 word, yeah. And you're the only game in town. So everybody's going to come to you for the thing that you do.
Yeah.
And so you're packed all the time.
And you're not willing to overutilize your provider.
Which is a good idea, actually. Don't burn out.
And the other reason that you might be adding someone to a wait list is that you truly don't have a good fit on your staff. That's so off that you cannot in good conscience schedule them. So you put them on a wait list because maybe there is a better suited provider, but the limiting factor is availability.
Like a nice pair of socks. They're not a good fit. Like the wrong size sock or something.
And then this is really where you need to determine internally what is a good enough provider fit. And you might be using something like a customer satisfaction survey to help inform you on, hey, I gave them a 70% suited match and they still had a really good customer satisfaction.
Amazing.
And then it should be organized and actionable, not just a simple list of names and numbers, but it should be organized by payer. It should be organized by provider match. Like you've already done the provider match. So you should be able to list them. Maybe you have 2 providers that matched well and they were both unavailable. And let's say once a week, I'm opening this wait list and I'm saying, and I'm looking at the schedules in my office and I'm saying, okay, we have, 3 cancellations over here, and I can either move up patients that have later appointments or I can get some new intakes in here. And so I need to look at Dr. Smith's schedule or a wait list, who's on and then I'm going to go first in, first out. So then it's an actionable tool. It's not just that list. You're going to look at it regularly because I don't know. You probably should limit how long you have someone on a wait list.
Yeah. I mean, or they're going to find somebody else, and that's fine.
Or you're going to find somebody else for them.
Yeah.
Like, if they're on a list for X amount of days, you're going to give them a call and say, hey, we still don't have anybody available in our office. I can keep you on the wait list for another X amount of days, or I can refer you out. What would you prefer?
Refer and prefer.
That is such high quality service.
It is.
So you're going to have happier patients and you're going to have better utilized providers, because on the other hand of overutilization, we have underutilization. And a wait list really, really, really helps with that. So if you have a provider that is trying to fill up their caseload, this is a great way to do that.
Sounds good.
That's another thing you could say on the phone. I have a less suited provider, a provider that will do a good job but might not be exactly what you asked for, that is available tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you get their permission to do that.
In some specialties it doesn't matter. In some
Absolutely.
it does. So that's why we gotta talk about it. What else, Catherine? What else do you have for us?
Yeah, so like a good wait list is going to include the key information like the date the patient was added, their availability, their specific needs, and then whatever good match you found for them, so that you can easily filter this by the match and by the date, and easy peasy. And then again, having clear protocols for how often you reach out to people on the wait list, and then you remove them from the wait list. And that is how you utilize
It's great.
a wait list.
Yeah. All right, Catherine, you've mentioned several tools in our conversation today that are really key to mastering this territory. Give us a quick rundown, Catherine, of the tools that you recommend and how they all fit together to create a seamless process.
There are actually 4 tools, and I didn't talk about them all yet. So I'm going to introduce some of them to you now. Nice. I'm really excited about some of the tools that we have in this particular topic, because they are probably tools that you don't have.
Definitely not.
That we actually specifically designed and had outside help. Like we really want to make these tools because we've seen how poorly this can go, and we think it's very important. So the first one that we have not talked about that I'm going to introduce to you today is the provider availability and preference form, which is where you would gather this crucial information from your providers, which would include things like their specialty, their in-network panels, their working hours, their preferred patient types. And I'm speaking generally, we get a lot more specific. And that this would get updated annually so that we make sure all of the information is up to date. And then that actually gets put into the next tool.
What?
Yes. So this is how you can come to an intake call with a patient already having all of the provider information available.
Wow.
And properly.
It's like magic.
It is like magic. So that goes into our second tool, the provider assignment filter and log, which one of our staff members might murder me because we've probably changed the name of this tool and I just don't know it. But I think it's called the provider assignment filter and log, and I will make sure to update that for the show notes. But
cool.
It is a tool that then you would input the patient data into as you're getting it on the phone, and it will incorporate the provider preference form into the spreadsheet. So as I'm putting in all the patient data, it's going to spit out at me the matches.
It sounds like that could save admins and billers a lot of time.
It's extremely cool.
And maybe providers too. Who knows?
And extremely valuable. So you can essentially be on the phone with a new patient, add their insurance, their language, their availability, any of the other preferences that they have. And this form will literally spit out your matching providers.
That's kind of awesome.
And I think it even gives partial matches, which is helpful for if you've decided that it doesn't have to be exact.
Yeah. No, that's good.
So it's amazing. And the only thing that you need to do is see if the provider has an open slot in their schedule. Awesome. So it will match the provider for you.
That's awesome.
And you don't have to do any thinking.
Catherine over spitting truth while we're spitting out providers.
It is just a very cool tool.
Cool tool. We're running
It's a cool tool.
Might as well be the Dr. Seuss's of billing. What else do you have for us? What other tools?
So the appointment scheduling guidelines, which I mentioned earlier, which has a lot of different language around how they would handle different occurrences for booking new appointments, for managing your calendar efficiently, any clear policy for your front desk to follow. It's shorthand. So it's not
makes sense.
A script like we had in intake. This is shorter and a little bit more consumable. I think there's even jump logic. So this happened, I jump here.
Nice. Ta-da. I love jump logic. Jump street.
And the waitlist is the last tool. We actually have our own version of a waitlist that helps to track, store, and sort a waitlist of patients. Those are the 4 tools that we have in our hourglass that I recommend.
So where do we go to find that?
www.practicesoul.com/pricing /
go visit the website and see it.
I was gonna say it will be in the show notes.
Amazing.
Yes. So that's all I got on provider assignment and scheduling. So now is the time to draw a case study card, Jeremy, for today's episode. This is what it asks. Tell us about a time you saw a practice suffer from a flawed provider assignment and scheduling process. What went wrong and how could it have been avoided?
Yeah, and we may have used this same case study. Did we reuse this one?
I don't know.
I think we might have used this one in a previous or maybe forward-looking episode. I don't remember, but we're going to tell it anyway. My friend Uriah, who we interviewed on round
13.
Good friend. Go check out The Productive Therapist. But he told me the story of a provider that was assigned to a client that was or out of network. Is not a technical term, by the way. It's out of network with the payer, and the client had to pay out of pocket because they didn't assign the client with a provider that was credentialed.
I actually have a better one.
Tell me a better one.
I think we've told this one too, but I'm going to talk about it from this angle. So we had a provider who had been seeing a patient for
we have told this one. This is a good one.
Very long time.
This is a good one.
And she was a Medicaid provider, but the policy that this person had was a specific carve out of Medicaid.
This is a trap a lot of people fall into. I've seen 100 of these.
And when we pulled up the card and her credentialing and when do they match, does the key fit? It did not.
Key and hole.
And we told her, we said, this person has a very specific Medicaid policy that you are not credentialed with. And there was no acknowledgement or computing that they could be a Medicaid policy provider that can't see a specific Medicaid patient. It's it didn't click that.
Some plans have to be managed, at least in that particular state. Some Medicaid plans have to be managed by a community mental health center or a federally qualified health center. And
she was a private practice.
Mm-hmm. So with that plan, they needed to go somewhere else. She wasn't qualified. It was a whole big deal.
So unlike Uriah's example where the client had to pay out of pocket, she cannot charge him.
No.
Because he's a Medicaid patient.
We had to write off all of it.
So she lost a lot of money and then continued to see him. She just would not accept that was true. I was like, well, we can try to get you a prior auth or something.
Yeah.
So that's an insurance reason. But I've also personally been poorly matched with
infinite number of times.
Let's just talk about this. This is a little TMI, but as a woman going to a gynecologist, I don't know that I want to see a man. And I have gone to a new office before where they gave me the only open provider, and it was a man with really poor bedside
I wonder if there's a reason why he was open.
Oh, good question. Probably.
All of his patients were closed.
Yeah, so there are some obvious ones, right?
Yeah.
He was also a middle-aged Middle Eastern man, which, not to discriminate, but not the most comfortable situation for a gynecological visit.
There you go. There you have it.
Wasn't my preference.
Catherine's preferences are loud and proud right now. Yeah, it's great. There you go.
So
cool. So today we talked about provider assignment and scheduling. We discussed a few tools today: the provider availability and preference form, the provider assignment filter and log, the appointment scheduling guidelines, and the waitlist. And those are available through our online learning hub, the Hourglass. If you think those would be helpful for your practice, check out the link in the show notes to the Hourglass.
Yeah. Next time on the Claim Game, we'll move deeper into the intake process to discuss the nuances of HIPAA compliance.
It's going to be a riveting episode.
Woo-hoo!
Riveting.
So you'll have to tune in to find out how to stay compliant. See you next time.
If you enjoyed today's episode of The Claim Game, please take a moment to leave us a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really helps new listeners to find us. Make sure you never miss an episode by subscribing to The Claim Game on your favorite podcast app. Your feedback means so much to us. We want to provide valuable education about revenue cycle management. So if there's something we didn't cover in our topic that was a burning question for you, please let us know so we can try to get you the information you desire. You can find the links to all resources we mentioned in this episode in the show notes. And if you want to dive deeper into our resources, we have two places you can do that. First, you can go to our blog at practicesol.com/blog, where we have 8 years of educational blogs. If you want to learn more about what Practice Solutions does, reach out. We'd love to hear from you. Just go to practicesol.com to learn more and to connect with one of our awesome people on our team. Thanks for listening. We are Jeremy and Catherine Zug, and this is The Claim Game. See you at the game table next time.